Welcome back to another episode of Elevator Dialogue here on the Uncle Junior Network. I am the Uncle Junior, and with us today we have none other than the man himself, the painter, the artist, Mr. Slick Hair, Mr. Sassy himself, Mr. Antoine Christopher. Um, we got my man down here at the bottom with the red shirt, pumping and rocking his Victor brand uniform, his clothes, his outfit, his drip, his dreads, all of the above. Mr. Accountable Masculinity himself, Victor Viziant.
What's good,
And
baby?
last but not least, the beast is unleashed, Mr. Mindset Coach, Mr. Coach, Mr. Knowledge, Mr. AKA, all the things, Mr. Lover, all of those other things that you want to call him. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than Coach Dwayne Dwyer. How y'all doing today, gentlemen?
Man, you're ridiculous.
Which introduction you like the best?
Hey, I like the sassy one. You know what I'm saying?
Did that just for you?
Oh my God, man!
Yeah, you so disrespectful.
Hey,
In a good way.
No, right?
Hey, I
It's good seeing y'all, man.
apologize for being late. We was having a
Man,
conversation
that's your show, brother. However you want to introduce it, I'm here for it.
Huh? Hey, we was having a conversation backstage, so apologize for the few minutes. It was exciting. But we may end up talking about some of those things, into the broadcast. Shout out already to the chat, Mr. Antoine. How you doing, brother? Glad you could make it. Appreciate you. Always supporting the channel, always being here on Wednesday nights. So man, like I said, I just appreciate you. Appreciate your support from everybody in the chat and all of those other good things. Have a good show tonight, man. I think we are. A couple other people going to be coming in later on. We're going to kind of set the stage before we go out because we understand that the topic, we don't really want it to go left. We want to have, like every other week, we want to have some elevated dialogue out here. And we just don't want to come here with the same old boring talking points that you can see anywhere else. We want to take the conversation to the next level. And, we want you guys to be able to walk away with some sort of value each week whenever you tune in here. So, other than that, man, how y'all guys doing, man? I know we talked backstage, but how y'all doing?
Generally speaking, hey man, it's been a good year so far, man. Like hard to believe tomorrow's December, considering where we started at on this thing last year. And we've already crossed that threshold, went through a whole nother holiday season, man. I don't have no complaints.
What you, Coach? Good?
Everything's good here.
Okay.
Yep, really happy to be here.
Coach, everything good in the neighborhood?
I'm good, man.
Man, I love it, man.
I got a little lag over here. Give me a second. I got a lag.
All right. Yeah, I've been picking it up. Coach will be back. Also, Chris will be in. A couple other guys, they running a little late. They got some other things going on, but they'll be jumping in a few minutes to add to the conversation. So go ahead.
Nope, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you fine.
All right, good.
Yep, I love it. Mr. Tim Davis, appreciate you being here too as well. What's up to you? Enjoy the show, man. Hope you get some value out of it. All right, so we'll start with this. What is the problem between black men and black women? What is the beef? Who created it and where did it start? Who do we point the finger at? You know what some say. You know what some going to say. Some going to say it's the women, and some going to blame men. Heck, some going to blame their mothers, while some going to blame their fathers for not being there. Either way, who cares? If you turn on your television, YouTube video, or podcast, you can find some variation of an answer to these and questions like these. Today, we want to spend a short time talking about some of the things that are a problem, then spend the majority of the time talking about solutions and why it is important for the beef between black men and black women to be, why it is important for the beef between black men and black women to end and be at peace with each other. The goal of this conversation is to share our perspectives and our experiences and take the dialogue to a more elevated level. I want to start by saying this. I know that is the title of the show, about why it is important for black men and black women to be at peace with each other. But that's assuming that you think that black men and black women should be at peace with each other. Maybe you don't care. Either way, I want to start with the question then, what do you think are some of the beefs between black men and black women? And honestly, I want to start with Antoine. Because I know you got some. Don't forget to unmute your mic.
Is there really a war though? Is there really a beef if you don't really hang with that shit? I mean, is there really a beef? I mean, I'll have that conversation for the sake of having it, right? But over here in my world, my universe, I don't see a beef. I just see whatever. Why are you trying to? If they don't want to be saved, why try to save them? If they don't want to have the conversation, why have what do we? Why do we hope to resolve this so-called beef if you don't hang around people that you beef with like that, right? Because, like I say, you're as good as the company you keep. Why are you keeping company like that? And if they don't want you, why are you trying to be wanted? Like, I mean, you have nothing better to do. Like, you're trying to save what? Let your outcomes determine your fate. Like, what are you trying to save? If they don't want you and they say they don't want their boss babe and all this and they love their ratchetness, I don't understand why you can't let them do them and let their outcomes decide who they want. You got a fat woman wanting 100K man, let her try to get it. She ain't gonna get it, but let her try. There's so, I don't understand why there's a beef. Like, why you need to include them if they don't want to be included. They say that, what's the famous word? They always say it, we don't protect them. From what? What are you protecting them from? They're grown women. Like, you got nothing better to do. What exactly are you protecting them from? First of all, that's what I'd like to know. And this beef that you talk about, is it because those are the people you associate yourself with? Because, over here, I don't bring madness into my world. And I let you do you and let your outcomes determine your fate. And that's all I want to say to that.
Who's next?
Crickets.
I don't have any. I think since this is like the initial icebreaker piece right here, I don't personally have any beefs with black women. You know what I'm saying, at all. Like, I think that you only beef where you're trying to force your acceptance and your understanding. I think beef only goes where conflict is being invited. I think if you live in an accountable life, you have less conflicts. I think the longer the conversation, the less the accountability in most cases. You know what I'm saying? When you have competing understandings, because you have to create utopian scenarios in order for everybody to be right. I think if you find in debates more than dialogues, you're going to find more misunderstandings than you are understandings. I think you're going to be courted by a lack of reciprocity if you're looking for beefs, because that's what you're going to end up attracting, So I think ultimately, when you boil down to what's the common denominator, it's going to be on the individual. And, my saying is always, you can only have what you can afford. And that comes down to relationships. That comes down to anything that you commit your energy to. So if you're a person that's watching this and you're always in beefs, that's what you're really invested in, because you can always find a beef. Beefs are cheap. Look at Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying? What up?
Say Taco Bell. What you got, Coach?
Yeah, so this is where I gotta agree with Antoine. I'll be honest with you. In my circle of friends, I don't see beef. You know, I for me, I tend to practice a few concepts. First and foremost, I tend to practice radical transparency and radical open mindedness. And when you really consider the concept of transparency and open mindedness, that opens the door to what we understand to be thoughtful disagreement. So there is no beef because what people end up doing is that if they have a disagreement, it has to be based upon logic. I think one of the things that most people get into issues with is that they just don't want to be wrong or they just don't want to accept another person's version of being right. And so they go back and forth about where they have gotten to the point of making their stance. And their stance is about their concept of, their concept of wanting to be right or their concept of not wanting to agree with somebody on the other side of the fence. I don't necessarily exist in that world. So, like I said, the people that I associate with, we practice the concept of radical transparency and radical open mindedness, and that presents the gateway to thoughtful disagreement. And thoughtful disagreement allows us to challenge each other's perspective for the sake of growth, not for the sake of wanting to be right. So, we move ego out of the way from gate one. So, I don't see the beef, but I know it exists because I see it all over social media.
And that's I agree with that too. It's like I don't deal with a lot of the beef. Um but I see it. I see it on social media, I see it on YouTube, see it on Facebook. You see like where people are, they've already decided to take a stance or take a point on something, and then they're going to hammer that in no matter what, regardless if it's effective or not. And I think that right there is causing problems, you know, in my opinion. So, coach, I know you said you don't necessarily have to go first, but based off of some of those things, what do you think is actually before we do that, I'll let I'll let John come in and see if you want to tackle this question because um we're all in a group chat with John, and he posts some stuff. So I'm gonna let you stab at this question. What are some of the black beefs that you see between black men and black women?
Good evening, everybody. What are some of the beefs? I guess one of the things that I see on a regular basis on social media is one of the biggest beefs is women feeling like men supposed to just basically take completely care of them. And on some level, I can agree with it, but on other levels, I don't. I do feel like a man's responsibility is to provide for his family. But the mentality of women nowadays, one of the biggest beefs that we have is women feeling like, if you talking to her, you supposed to pay her bills and your bills. I don't want to pay my own damn bills, let alone pay somebody else's bills. So that's definitely a beef that I got. One of the reasons why I'm happily not dating right now. But the status or the role that I feel like, or that women feel and that men feel they have is one beef. Another one that I'm starting to notice is trying to define what a high value man is or a high value woman. It's becoming a beef because the determination of what people feel like is a high quality is based off of money. But you got some it's one of the guys in my business. He's he's actually a 7-figure earner, but one of the things that he calls is a bunch of rich derelicts. You got a bunch of rich people out here that I don't even know what you would call them, but they aren't responsible. So just because somebody earns 6 figures doesn't mean that they're responsible. They're high value. Values are enrooted into what they are, what they speak on, how they stand up against things that are being said. I got into an argument here recently at my job. The job I just started, just got into an argument with a guy because I feel like it's been said for years, but I stand on this. If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I don't believe in biting my tongue. I work with mostly white guys. So I speak my mind and I direct stuff to white people versus black people. And it's not trying to start an argument, but it becomes an argument with the Uncle Toms because they don't like me speaking up against things. But we have internal beefs with ourselves, and then we create beefs with other people that don't even care about those things. We get mad about things that don't really matter. We try to show off things that don't really matter. So damn near everything is a beef. Like I said, I think I said at the last show, one of the reasons why I don't speak on a lot of people's posts or comment on a lot of people's posts is plain and simple. People don't know how to have a simple conversation without getting mad because my opinion is different than yours. We ain't got a beef just because we don't agree. We can agree to disagree and go our separate ways. But the lack of intelligence is we beefing now because we have a difference of agreement or a difference of opinion. I ain't got no beef with nobody. I'm gonna say this for anybody and everybody that sees this. I have no beef with anybody. I don't care. My life is too goddamn short to be worried about some shit that happened, some shit that was said, or some shit that wasn't done or was done. I ain't got no beef with you. You live your life, I'm gonna live mine. Keep moving.
Hey, I hear you. Just to kind of paraphrase one of the first things you talked about, were you saying pretty much like when it comes to women that some of the beef may be, partly a misunderstanding that women have between what's real and what's fake?
I ain't gonna say it's a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's really a misunderstanding. I think it's just an opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. We've discussed thoroughly. Anton has he has his beliefs when it comes to relationships, and nobody's saying that he's wrong, that it's his choice. So everybody is entitled to their opinion on what they feel like a relationship is supposed to look like for them. But, and this is a big goddamn but, I honestly and truly feel like most people don't even know what the hell they want for real, because women talk about wanting a good man, but yet they get one and they fuck it up. And the same thing with men. Men get good women and we fuck up. It's human nature. So I don't think it's a misunderstanding or miscommunication. I feel like it's just society has gained so much control over what people think they're supposed to be, or where they're supposed to be, or what their relationship is supposed to be like. So it's not necessarily a miscommunication. It goes back to what I said on one of the other shows about actually getting to know who you are. Get to know who the hell you are. Some folks don't know who they are because they jump from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship. How the hell do you know who you are jumping from relationship to relationship? How do you know anything about yourself if you're giving all of your time to someone else? When do you actually give time to yourself? Like I said, I say it on a regular basis because I want it to be understood. Being single is not bad. It's actually good. You get to know yourself. You get to learn things about yourself. You get to figure out the things that you didn't know that you've been ignoring. So single life is actually good if you utilize the possibilities that are in being single.
Welcome to the show, Chris from across the table. How are you, brother?
I'm well. What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man. Chilling. You want to jump on this grenade? Taking some words out of Coach's page from back in the day.
As far as
what are some of the beefs?
I was about to say, brief me.
Just pretty much basically the question. Like, what are some of the beefs you see between black men and black women? If not, then we'll roll on to the next one.
The main beef that I see is the women in mainstream media telling women to give us what they think we deserve instead of giving us what we want. That's mainly what I see. For some strange reason, mainstream media has put in the woman's head that we as men are supposed to give everything and they're just supposed to be. And that has never been the case for as long as I've lived. Another thing is the whole objectification argument. Like from what I see on social media, it's like a lot of these women out here objectify themselves, but get mad when men objectify them, and it's an issue. You understand what I'm saying? That as a whole is what I see, but that's just two of them, to be honest.
I just personally, if I was to comment on the beef, right? I mean, women want a guy that can provide and do all that good stuff, but they don't want the average guy. The average guy, what, makes 47, they say, or 50, let's say 50,000. They don't want that, right? And then you have the women, the boss baby, making 100K, and they want a man that makes 100K to match him. But the men that make 100K, you don't qualify for because you don't look the part. That steps out of their car.
Not
So
to
you
mention
have-
that there are more women who want those kinds of men than there are those kinds of men.
Man,
You understand what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, if you want a good life with a good man, you're gonna judge his character, see if he is a good provider, but they don't want that. They want the easy way out. They want the guy that's gonna do it all, and that's the beef out there. But I make 80K. Now I want a man that makes 80K. Do you know what steps out of the kind of car of a man that makes $80,000 a year, $20,000 a year from away $100,000? You even look that part. And it's and then you have the guy making 50K, more loyal, dedicated, wants a good family, wants to grow, wants to, be promoted, do all these great things for you, but he doesn't match up to what you make. But yet, if he's making 80K, it's okay if you don't make money because he's willing to do all what you want him to do. So it's like, you don't want a man here that's good, but you want him up here that's not so good. These men trade you in for a newer model every day when you get old.
And that's what it is, Antoine. That's what it is. A lot of the women really, really think that the men who make that kind of money are going to be loyal to them just because they're them. But the problem is 90% of the women out here want that kind of man. So he has his options. So he can literally, like you said, replace you with a newer, younger model. And women can't grasp that concept. You understand what I'm saying? And you have the dudes out here.
Exactly. These men have
you have the men
options.
out here who are average, thinking that they can ask women to do certain things when they don't provide what that woman would really, really want. So I get that. That's the whole beef. This is the fight that I don't want no part of.
And I'm telling you now, most women are looking for Superman, but don't even recognize when Clark Kent is right next to them. Like they don't even see it. And this is a good man, but he doesn't qualify because you know what? He doesn't make your 80K. But you don't qualify because you don't look the 80K part of a man that makes that kind of money. So where are you?
That goes back to what I said about when most people don't really know what they want. They asking for something that looks appealing or that they think is going to go the way that they want to go. How many people are really going to put in the work to be in that relationship? So I can be a 10-figure damn earner. I can be making $1 billion a year, but are you going to put in the necessary work to satisfy me? Because it's not just about and I'm not, and for the women that's watching, I'm not saying that you just supposed to satisfy your man, but you supposed to satisfy your man just like I'm supposed to satisfy you. But are you willing to put in that work? See, it sounds good to say that I want a woman that make 100K, but am I going to do what's necessary to satisfy her?
Hey man, you can only have a relationship you can afford. So if you always in a situation with beefs, all you can afford is beef. Stop buying Taco Bell with Taco Bell budgets. You see what I'm saying? Like y'all, a lot of y'all like, you know what I'm saying? You really like Taco Bell. You don't really want to be honest about it. You know what I'm saying? Because you can complain about Taco Bell with no accountability. But like you go get some Wagyu, you got to cook it the right way, or you just wasted a whole bunch of money per pound. You see what I'm saying? So like you got to look at your emotions the same type of budget sense that you look at your money with, like for real. Because at some point you expended some level of resource, whether it be intellect, emotion, money, whatever. It's a whole lot of things you spend before you even get the money. You know what I'm saying? And for men that's listening, if you sloppy with your women, you're gonna be sloppy with your money. If you sloppy with your money, you're gonna be sloppy with your women. There's like no in between with that. You know what I'm saying? So like when you start looking at the type of women that you attract, you probably making a lot of sloppy decisions. And for a lot of women, if you keep attracting trash, you got to quit hanging out in the dumpster.
Go ahead, Coach.
I'm sorry. I'm hearing a lot of resource conversations, but this question isn't a resource question. This question is a character question when I look at it. I think whenever you look at the problem that you have with anybody else, it has nothing to do with their resources. Whether or not you want to use their resources to kind of cover your own insecurities or not, it is not a resource problem. It is a character problem. And so when you look at what are some of the beefs between black men and black women, it is a lack of personal responsibility. Until we get to the point of taking responsibility for our own character development, we will never find the peace that we're looking for in anybody else. I don't give a damn if they make $10 million. Money will never satisfy the need of an empty character. That's just my point.
Yeah, I like that, man. I like all the talking points and everything that was said so far. So let's transition a little bit into why it may be important for just men and women, black men and black women, to work together. But if that's not your talking point and you want to stick to just men and women, that's fine too. But why do you think it is important for men and women to work together?
Because that's the only way we can grow our community the way it needs to grow. That's the only way we can better our community the way it needs to be better.
Hit the Jamaican horns. Hit the Jamaican horns now.
Oh, that was called the Jamaican horns? I didn't know that.
I don't know what
No,
it's
but
called.
seriously, man, seriously, we need each other a whole hell of a lot more than we've been taught. For real. And from what I've seen, our community has been living in survival mode for a long time. And it's the late, great Kevin Samuels used to say this a lot. He used to say that we are better together than we are apart. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. There will be more productive homes. There will be more productive children. There will be a more productive community if the black men and if our men and our women actually put our egos aside and said, screw it. This is where we are. How do we fix it? Because that's where I am. That's why I don't want no part in this fight. I don't. I hate it. I hate how we interact with each other. I hate how we treat each other. I hate how we talk about each other on mainstream media and on social media. I can't stand it. I want to know how we can fix it.
Listen, you can't fix what doesn't want to be fixed. This part of this generation part is done. I'm looking for the younger one coming up to be better. The younger ones coming up to know what birth control is. The younger ones coming up to know what a good man is. The younger ones that can judge a good character. The younger ones that want a success with a successful man. The other ones that want to grow with men. This part here is done. This community trying to save the ones that are in present. How many times they got to tell you they don't want you? I mean,
but you can't look at the younger generation and expect that to happen if we don't take the reins.
Those are the ones, John, that I'm talking to. Like the ones that are present, I am not. It's done. You know, as a single man, how hard it is to find a fresh one.
This is the thing, though. This is the thing. I'm a disagree on you, and the only reason I disagree is because of this. That's the problem. We keep having generations of people that just want to say, "Fuck it, I'm done," and stop working, and it becomes a what's the proper terminology? It continues and continues and continues. Yeah, it becomes a cycle.
They don't want to be saved. You can't
but it don't matter. It's as simple as this. You can say that if they don't want to, that's fine. I get that. You're going to have some ones that's going to say, I don't want it. But the reality is this. If you give in and say, you know what, okay, I'm done because y'all don't want to listen, it's going to continue to change. So you can't look for any generation after to think any different if you don't continue to try to work. I'm not a church person, I'm not a religious person, but I remember everything that I was taught in church. In church, they talk about faith of a mustard seed. So if it's one person to come in church, the preacher's still supposed to preach. It don't matter who that person is, if it's just his wife. So to me, that means for us, it don't matter if it's just one person in each generation that actually hears and sees what we're trying to say. If that one person continues to work, then eventually it's going to become a cycle of, okay, it's 2 people now. It's 3 people now. It's 4 people now. The thing about it is you got to be patient enough to realize that this shit is not an overnight thing. it didn't happen overnight that we got fucked up. It's not gonna change and be fixed.
Exactly.
So you can't say that I'm done with one just because they're not doing it. The problem, and going back to what Chris just said, is we've been brainwashed into thinking that this is how society is supposed to operate. Society is happy as hell that we are fucked up. That it's happy because it's operating exactly how it was designed to operate. The only way that changes is when we what we're doing right now, continuing to do that and not giving up just because it ain't changing. You
Hey,
gotta
if I
the
can
book.
pick-
Buy the book.
if I can pick it back off of John, like why do men and women need to work together? Because that's when our culture is at its best. That's why. It is no men dominance, no women dominance. It is a coordinated effort of men and women coming together, and in doing so, what you'll find is our community strengthen to the point to where we as a culture is thriving. One of the things that I do know to be a fact is that we do not like to help those to where the problems are not knocking on our doorstep. So if it's Vic's problem, Vic could deal with it. But that's wrong. That is totally wrong. If Vic is running into an issue, Roland, I got to get it right. If Vic is running into an issue, right, then I need to be willing to come out of my comfort zone to go help Vic. I don't see us doing a whole lot of that in our community. And what we need to do is we need to come together and realize that all of these brothers on this panel right here, these are all my brothers. So if they got a problem, I got a problem because they got a problem. And until we get to that point to where we can unselfishly give ourselves for someone else, we're going to always be at this impasse that does not promote any type of resolution whatsoever.
And I agree with that, but we got to stop poking the bear that doesn't want to be that's poked. We got to stop poking the bear and stick to the ones that don't mind being poked and helped. We can't try to change. We can't change these people's minds. I mean, how many times do they have to tell you we're dusty, we don't stick around? Those are the ones they already made up their mind. Leave them alone.
But
Stop
this
poking
the
the
thing,
bear.
Antoine. This the thing, Antoine. Stop giving them attention.
Exactly, but we keep giving them attention.
No,
trying to change.
We're not
to be like
we're
this.
not looking. We're not looking for the ones that don't want to be changed. But if they're changed in the process, then so be it. But we're not focusing on them. We just focusing on moving forward. So that's my point. It don't matter about what anybody else think. It don't matter about what anybody else does. As long as we're focusing on moving forward. I don't give a damn about the ones that don't care. Let them sit there and watch.
Exactly.
Let them sit there and watch. But I'm gonna say this, and then I know Roland got something to say because he's been looking like he's been ready to let loose for a minute. I'm gonna say this. If you pay attention to what the media does, if you pay attention to what society does, they do not promote happy couples. How many times have you seen a happily married black couple on any type of social media? Anytime when Tia Mara, whatever her name was, when she got ready to get divorced, that was on every social media platform. Anytime somebody gets a divorce, anytime a black couple gets a divorce, they promote the hell out of that shit. But you don't see Denzel Washington been married for 30, 40 years. You don't see some of these guys that's actually been married. Society is pushing that. If you continue to go with what society is pushing, we're going to continue to have division. If you look at it, anytime you see a black couple doing something, anything positive, there's no media coverage unless we share it, unless it makes it to one media outlet and we start sharing it. That's why I'm saying it don't matter about the ones that don't want to do. We're going to continue to work and hope that somebody picks up and say, hey, I see what they're doing. Let me tag along, or let me try to build on what they're doing. You can't focus on the ones. It don't matter about what they're doing. You giving them attention by even bringing them up. My thing is this, and I've said this, and I'm gonna let Roland have it. If it does not matter, why talk about it?
Yep.
If you're talking about something, it bothers you. It matters to you. I don't talk about shit that don't matter to me. If I get to a point where I say that I don't care about somebody, you ain't gonna hear me talk about that person because they no longer matter to me. So my point in saying this is for you, Antoine, is if they don't matter, don't worry about them.
That's why I'm saying, like, I only focus on I don't have these women around my life. I don't even entertain the thought. Like, I'm thinking, like, who am I trying to make peace with? Who am I trying to protect? These women that I know are women, act like women, conduct themselves like women, fit feminine and beautiful. I'm like, you don't need protection from me. I'm actually trying to get with you because that's the circle I put myself around. But I'm not going to look for, Tom, Dick, and Harry down the street and try to say, hey, you know what? You should be living your life like this. No time.
I think we got to bring other things into the conversation when it comes to men and women, because as John was saying about how society pushes certain things on our community, when you look at the last few movies for the past 2-3 years that were coming out, everything was about women empowerment. Even the Woman King, Wakanda movie, it's all about women not needing a man. Women where the man didn't make it, he was killed or whatever the case was, he didn't do his job. So she took over, she took the lead and made it happen. And that's what society is pushing, not on every woman, but on Black women in particular. So they say, well, I don't need him. So now you see a Kamala Harris, you see Serena and Venus and all these people who are powerful women, and what they have on their arm, they got a white man. And so, and that what that does is when they put the picture of us out there, we're looking at thugs, we're looking at people who don't make any sense or don't make any money and don't add any value. So the younger generation sees, man, value ain't necessarily in me working it out with this brother. Value is in me going to get with Billy. So if I get with Billy, then he adds status to me, because that's going to build my credit, because that's what they say about us. We got bad credit and all that other stuff because some of us portray that. And when we're looking at, we must work together. We got to work together, because if we continue to allow other people to infiltrate us and tear us apart, then our community is splintered and they can dictate and do whatever it is that they will with us.
So, Roland, I appreciate you bringing up Woman King and Wakanda Forever, and to make sure I capture, what the original topic was, talking about why we need to fix it, correct? Number one, we can't fix anything in our community without women coming together. Like, everybody talks about men and women needing to come together, but women ain't even on the same sheet of music, okay? Like, so like when we look at it right now, we're demonstrating a consistent act of men coming together to commune every week to have elevated dialogue about what we need to do to make our community better overall. I'm not saying women are doing that. I'm just not seeing where it's happening at the same level. The other thing too, I want to speak on, like I see the narrative that you're talking about, Roland, when you're talking about women being programmed to not need a man in some degree. Now, I will offer an alternative, because somebody will hear that and feel like they're being insulted or being challenged, when they really should just be looking at it like, hey, what if what he's saying is true and there's an alternative reality to it, right? So let's say if you look at the alternative reality to it, at least these movies are putting women in the same on the same sheet of music for a change. Anything that you can get behind, at least get everybody on the same narrative, is important. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, information can change the narrative. Like when I watched Wakanda Forever last week, one of the main things that I saw in terms of both of those communities working their issues out was that the women on both sides had to be a point of infusion for making a decision, a point of counsel. They had to lean on each other in some kind of way in order to get over the hump, right? And they could do it when they can benefit from it. But when it comes down to our current family structure and our disarray, our over-exaggerated expectations of each other to some degree, if you don't look within your own group first, how are you going to have an opinion about a group that you can't even access? You know what I'm saying? Like that's like leaving your house and then leaving your house dirty and criticizing somebody else's kitchen. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think if you're accountable for your role and where you are, and you've done things to make up for the ground in it, ground in your current situation, the accountability journey that this whole conversation is really about, you can't get offended when you hear other people's opinions about the type of experience they had, because now you know the difference between somebody giving you that individual experience versus a generalized experience, and learning how to be objective. If you can't take yourself out of the situation, you still in your situation. It's just really what it is, because like a lot of the things that women complain about men don't even apply to men like me, don't apply to a lot of men that's up here, you know. But a lot of women that might hear the conversation about generalizations that men make about women, they all try to tie themselves to it, you know, initially, until you have to walk them back off the target and say, hey, I'm not talking about you specifically in your character. I'm talking about the behavior, because the behavior for men is usually a generalized thing, you know. So like definitions change the way you enter conversations, right? So the other day I came up with a new term, and I call it catty masculinity. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody that argues with women, you a catty masculine. You know what I'm saying? That goes for men and women. That's a gender neutral thing. If you stop arguing with women, you'll find out who the problem is. You know what I'm saying? It's either you or it's either them. But if you participate with them, you can't blame them. You see what I'm saying? You have to take yourself out of it and see where you've been giving the bulk of your energy, and let your outcomes reflect your reality, you know? And when it comes down to it, yeah, I understand, like Coach mentioned resources earlier. We got to start talking about intangible resources. Like you can't buy character. You either got it or you don't. You know what I'm saying? Or you can't buy good judgment. You either have it or you don't. And that's part of the accountability journey too. So ultimately, to circle all the way back, what we need to see in order to fix our community, can women fix their internal problems on their own? Because men are right here, right now, having a conversation that fixes our community going forward, or at least doing the work or doing what we think is the best example of it. And men in accountable positions have to lead by example. What example are women setting that men should get behind if what they're doing is the right thing? And I think when you start doing that, you got to make the necessary adjustments to get behind what works. Because if what you're doing works and it's a better plan than mine, I'll get on board with yours. But if what I'm doing makes more sense, then drop what you're talking about and get on board with the program and let me help. Then let's help fix this thing, because it's bigger than me. It's bigger than us, as Chris always says. And we got people that's going to look back and say, man, look, y'all had all this money, all this tech, all this resources, all these means to communicate, and you did less with it than our ancestors. That's crazy.
Hey man, I'm liking this conversation, the direction it's headed. Shout out to the chat, the most elevated chat on YouTube. Appreciate you guys for being here. Everybody who's watching at home, I really appreciate you being out here. Shout out to, like I said, the chat, True Man Podcast, for chiming in. He said survival will require it in the next 10 years, but something significant will need to happen to change the narrative. What do y'all think about this?
Yes, survival mode requires an extreme opposite to change the direction. Like people keep saying somebody's got to, let me scroll back up. He says somebody's got to fix it, right? Somebody's got to get in here and make a change. Everybody's been saying that. Somebody need to do something. Who's doing something? We doing something. So somebody need to fall in. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that there's a level of military, you know, mindedness that's on this panel, because we got veterans up here, but we're not trained to function in complaints. Complaints don't solve anything. Complaints should be like, you know, like it's an indicator, it's Wikipedia. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna give you all your answers, but it'll point you in the right direction. You look at the bad reviews, you look at the complaints, and then you figure out ways to critically think to solve the problem, you know, so it's not an issue. Like we shouldn't have the same problem this year. Like this problem that we have this year shouldn't be next year's problem. You know what I'm saying? It should be a measurable level of progress. And the first time that you realize that you have to make some kind of tangible progress, you realize you got to cut some things off. And that's when you start leveling the playing field. Like we're going to come in with a philosophy that's reasonable. You know what I'm saying? That's why I've thrown my you know what I'm saying, my name in the hat by writing and publishing a book to get us all on the same sheet of music. So like when people are talking about why we won't come together. We need to come together. Well, what are you doing besides making Facebook posts? What are you doing besides being intentionally combative? What are you doing besides identifying the behaviors of people that you don't interact with anyway? Now, if you take those things into account and you package it the right way, and you have a good constructive dialogue that's based on who, what, where, when, and why, conclusions, hows, maybes, courses of actions, and stuff like that, then the pack gets very slim, and you start realizing who really wants a decision, who really wants progress, who really wants to see the end of a conflict, an unhealthy competition at that. But you got to get reasonable Black people in the discussion first. If you don't get reasonable Black people in the discussion first, on how you gonna talk about fixing Black people with unreasonable people?
See, I think that it's a must that we come together, because there's some ways and some things that me as a man, as a masculine man, masculine tendencies, I don't know how to handle in a feminine way, because I don't have all that estrogen, and I shouldn't have that, and I shouldn't be, it's like if you have a barbecue and the men outside chilling, I shouldn't be the only dude in the house keying with the women. Let them do what they do. Men do what they do. But we must come together and identify the problems together, because she sees some things that I don't see. I see some things that she doesn't see. So when we come together, it's like, okay, we can not bicker amongst each other, but come for the common goal of the betterment of us to build. And if you don't do that, if you just sitting around, if we can say, well, women need to build themselves, men need to build themselves, then you have two splintered parts to what's supposed to be a whole. Now it's men beating their chests and women sitting up there doing whatever they do. We got to come together on it so that we can put our heads together. We can't sit up there, isolate ourselves.
Hey, Uncle Junior.
I got you. What's up?
Did you see the picture I just sent you? Check that out. I made this post back in November. It says most people are afraid to fix their problems because they'd have to confront themselves as the cause. That's one of the biggest reasons, going back to what Roland just said, that's one of the reasons why when it does become a situation where we are sitting down across the table from women and it becomes I don't want to take accountability for what I've done to play a part in what's going on. So now I'm going to just point the finger at you because that's easier. It's easier to point the finger at somebody else than it is to realize that you the cause of it. Accepting accountability, I think that's a plague that it needs to hit like COVID did. Accountability needs to hit everywhere, because that's one of the biggest problems in society now. Nobody wants to hold themselves accountable. I've said it before on this show, and I've said it before to people. I hold myself responsible for being where I am right now. I ain't where I want to be, but it's because of me. It ain't because of nobody else. It's because of the decisions I've made. That's the problem with most people. They're unwilling to accept that. It's easier to say that it's, well, the man holding me back. Like, that's still a conversation that I hear people saying. How the hell do you consider the man still holding you back when you still making the same decisions that you've been making?
And John,
about that change.
And people don't understand. I've achieved more in my life holding myself accountable for my own actions. I've achieved more in my life because I've been able to admit it and correct it. If you don't hold yourself accountable, I don't know how the hell you're moving forward, because that's just playing catch up until it hits you from behind. And if more people realize, if you hold yourself accountable for the decisions you make, the stuff you spend your money on, if you don't want to be educated, do want to be educated, the shit you listen to, if you don't hold yourself accountable, you're just going to be looking for somebody else to blame for your own demise. And that's what people do. I'm okay admitting, hey, you know what? In the beginning, I wasn't making shit. But I have no problem showing it when I make it, because I've earned that right. I'm not saying you have to floss. I'm not saying you have to do this. But you have a right to demand what you work your ass off for. And if that person or that thing doesn't qualify, you have a right to choose. I wanted to put myself in those positions because I've seen how it benefits other people. And every millionaire will tell you, I failed 2 or 3 times. They took accountability for failing. And when they took accountability for failing, it made them be able to accept the knowledge to learn how to succeed the next time around. But nobody wants to accept accountability. And that goes even with the people in your lives. That's what I'm saying.
And this is why I brought up what I brought up earlier about us coming together means a better community for everybody. The men can facilitate what they need to facilitate, and the women can get out of survival mode. We can actually move forward. That's really how I see it. We've been living in survival mode for too long. We've been trying to just get by for too long, and we'll be trying to just get by ourselves, and it don't work like that. It's never worked like that. There isn't a millionaire out there that has become a millionaire without people backing him. It all works like that. Now think about if we put that mentality in our community. Put the same energy that you put in your degree and your job into the men in your community, and the men put the same energy that you put in trying to get the biggest, baddest thing or get the biggest, baddest woman into your community, and see how far we'll get you. You understand what I'm saying? It's just, to me,
So
it's simple,
if I
but
can,
it's not easy.
Go ahead, Coach.
Now go ahead. I'm done.
no, I kind of want to piggyback off of what Chris is saying, and yeah, I kind of want to piggyback off of what Chris is saying, and it kind of mimics what Roland and Vic were saying as well. Like, I agree with everything that you guys are saying, spot on. But I also agree that there are sheeple that exist. I think we spend too much time talking to the sheeple. Those people are going to follow what the masses are doing. Stop talking to them. Keep the progression going forward. You want to see significant change, move the conversation off of those people onto the people who are advocates of change. Move from to pointing the finger that we do this and they do this and they do this. Let's move to the how can we do. This is what we need to do. The process for doing is this. And then we come up with training development programs in order to do that. Once the sheeple start seeing this happening, then what you're going to find is that the sheeple don't want to be left behind. I will be completely transparent. I am tired of hearing what women don't do well. Let's be completely honest. There's this thing called the yin and the yang. They go together and it makes a perfect circle. We can sit here and talk all day long about men this and men that and men this, and women can say women this and women that and women this, and then we can point the finger at each other. It's just going to be another version of World War III that has zero resolution. Even though we believe that we're coming up with a resolution, if we really take a step back, the only thing we're doing is having a higher echelon of victim blaming. We got to move away from that. We need to move into into the point where we're talking processes now. How do Uncle Junior, to get back to your question, why do men and women need to work together so that we both can become whole? A man is not complete without a woman, and a woman is not complete without a man. Let's be honest. I understand that everybody don't believe in the Bible, but I do. And the Bible says that when a man leaves his mother and his father and unites with his wife, they become one flesh. That's not by happenstance, nor is it accident. It is by purpose and design. And what we need to understand, sure, we can achieve a lot on our individual perspectives, but how much more could we have achieved if we found that perfect mate that became our yin or our yang? So what we need to get down to the point is where we get to the point to where we realize that the only way that's going to happen is that we develop men by teaching them the processes to elevate and grow. Women develop women by teaching them the process to grow. And then we have coordinated conversation across the table to find out how we can come together so that we can actually become a union, conjunctive together, and that's where our community will actually get to the point to where we become a dominant force in this society.
I like it, man. And you just hit on it, and you may have just answered the question. Hopefully, not for the whole panel. I would like to get other people's perspective on it. But what can we do to fix this? You know what I mean? I know we talk about we need to fix it, but what are some things that we can do to fix it? I know Coach talked about men having conversations, women having conversations, and I think someone else kind of mentioned having a I think it was Roland was talking about maybe having a conversation together. I want to start with Roland then. So what do you think, we can do to fix this problem or this situation?
I think one thing is stop letting TV, movies, and everything else dictate how we are together. Because we see where in the 80s, I think it was the 80s, when the Cosby Show was out, how they went a step forward. Because in the previous generations, you had certain family structures that where you had Big Mama or Mama's house, whatever they called it. Then you had they let James die. Everybody was trying to get out the ghetto, or George, he got out the ghetto, but he was just hoarding and everything. I think we need to get away from the boob tube, get away from the TV, read some books, learn your family, learn your culture, learn who you are, so you can stop implementing culture from other resources. Because everybody do the little Wakanda thing and everything like that, but when you look at the movies, you see they work detrimental to themselves. Even the new movie, if you've seen it, you seen it. You don't, didn't. But they let the water people, I say the water people, I ain't gonna say Mexicans, but the water people, they let them kill the queen, and then they say, just like we do, they say, we gonna work with them. They don't kill them. We gonna work with them. We need to stop being so forgiving of other people doing damage to our communities. The same venom that we have for us when we do some stuff. Oh, I'm gonna go at them. We need to go at whomever, and I'm not talking physical harm and stuff like that, but I'm saying with that same vigor, we need to make sure that we have that same vigor in our tongues and in our tone to them or whoever it is that's trying to destroy us, even if it's a subtle thing, because they don't just come and outright do it. They subtly throw things out there and allow you to destroy yourselves from within. So once you destroy the family structure, you destroy the whole community. And then first get rid of the men. When you get rid of the men, so he's sitting up there with the little tight jeans and dancing, and he ain't out there working with his hands, you destroyed some things. Now you don't have a father figure. What you have is a figure for this dude just to be some, I won't say bum, but he's a minstrel show.
Yeah, damn bum, you had it right.
A minstrel show.
A minstrel show. I like it.
I can read between the lines to figure out what that means.
Rolling, you better coin that for Big Rabbit hashtag on Facebook.
What you think, Chris? How do we fix it, man? Because I mean, I know you talking about you tired of it. You ain't part of the fight. You ain't had nothing to do with it. It started before you was born. All of these things. So what is it that you think that it needs to be done to help fix this?
I think it's starting now with what we're doing right here, having the conversation, but having the conversation amongst men, because the men are supposed to be the leaders of the community. But the late, great Patrice O'Neal, he always said this: if you fix the kings, the kingdom falls back in line. We need to start with us before we can go anywhere else and try to do anything else with anybody else. We have to fix us. And once we fix us and we put ourselves in a position where we can do things, everything will fall back in line. It might not be instant, but it'll happen because now they know that we're capable. I think the biggest issue in our community is that we forgot how to trust each other and we forgot how to love each other. We as men need to put ourselves in a position to where the women in our community trust us again. And I'm not saying trust in relationships. I mean, trust us to be the leaders in the community that we're supposed to be. That's where I think we start. After that, I don't know.
Wait, I think that brother just said something that was pristine just now. He said that we need to get to the point to where trust is a thing and love is a thing. Chris, I hate to put you on the spot, brother. Can you kind of develop that just a little bit? Because I think you're saying a lot, and I think that needs to be developed, because if we just leave that where it's at, we're missing the key point behind what you're saying.
Okay, I'll bottom line it. Our image is trash as a whole. The black male image is trash. You have a small amount of men doing things, but that small amount of men they don't get the shine that they're supposed to. The bums and the Pookies and the Ray Rays get all of the attention, and that's who we get compared to. So if we fix us, meaning we fix us and hold the Pookies and Ray Rays accountable for the dumbness that they doing, then it trickles down to the women. It trickles down to our women. That's what I mean. The image that we have in mainstream media is that we are not to be trusted. We're bums. We don't have no money. We broke. And all we want to do is go 50-50. The image of the black woman is we're just supposed to accept them for who they are. They can do the same thing we do. They don't need us. We got money. We got all of this. We have been in separate corners for a long time, and it's because we've been split apart. If we can build ourselves up to the point where we can be trusted enough to take the reins, the women will follow. If you fix the kings, the kingdom falls back in line. That's what I mean.
Chris, I got to jump in with you. I'm agreeing wholeheartedly. And I think trust starts with protection. That's the woman's problem. She's not protected. She's not secure. When you make her secure, everything goes. She gives you everything you want. But when she's not protected, like you see videos where you see a man slapping a woman or this and that happening to a woman and people taking pictures or videos and all this other stuff. No, you make her secure. And I'm not saying just make her unaccountable for her actions. I'm saying secure that what you say you do and you have her back wholeheartedly. Right now, she got her own back. She don't need you. I got a few nieces. They done been to college. They done, they doing things. But you know what most of the boys doing? Sitting on the sideline, watching the women flourish.
Can I push back?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Every woman does not qualify to be defended.
True
But
that.
no. See, ain't none of what we say gonna be all inclusive.
No. And what I'm saying, like I said, when I say push back, I wanna put it out there so when everybody hears it, I don't want nobody to misconstrue what you're saying. Like we're talking about the baseline, right men and right women putting it together, fixing the community. Okay. Right. For everybody that's hearing just that snapshot of what you said, it's gonna sound like they're gonna take what you're saying and turn it into a simp conversation. You know what I'm saying? Yep. They're gonna say you're supposed to be here catering to every single woman, defending every single woman.
Simps gonna do that. You're right.
You see what I'm saying?
And that's what I mean by fix the kings.
Right, because weak men will always find a negative in a positive. Weak men will always right.
We need to do what we need
instead
to
of looking at it, because it's my job. I got 5 daughters. Outside of my daughters, I got 9 sisters. I got a wife. I got all these women. Now, if I allow them to feel insecure, to feel, and not saying they can't handle their business, but I'm saying if somebody come ring my doorbell right now, if my son don't get the door, I'm getting the door because it's nighttime and danger could be there. I got to step in and miss the danger, not her. So when simps say, well, she can get the door, she got 2 hands, that's a simp. So he need to go ahead and put on the maxi pad and join in with them.
Not only that.
That's a catty masculine. A catty masculine.
But see, that's what I mean. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me shut up.
No, you're good. But again, that's not our conversation.
Right.
Again, we're talking beneath us. That's the concern that I have. We keep dipping below the coordinated altitude. The altitude that we're trying to stay at is where we first. Let me put it like this. I hate to say this, if I was a woman, why would I want to join you when you were bickering and fighting amongst one another? So when I say what I say, what I'm saying is that for men, if we fix ourselves where we value one another, we take care of one another, and we actually look like a wolf pack to where we are strong together, now what you will find, regardless if she is worth defending or not, I could care less. If she's not worth defending, she don't even get to hang out with us. But at the end of the day, for those women who say, hey, I want to come hang out with the wolf pack because you guys are phenomenal. You guys are strong. You guys have I'm taking your phrase. You guys have code. I want some of that. Now we have elevated ourselves to a point to where we, and I hate to say it this way, don't take it the wrong way, to where we are attractable. This has nothing to do with the exterior. This is all character I'm talking about. So if we keep talking about this person isn't this, man, that's beneath us. We don't even have we don't need to have, leave that for TikTok and all those other social media groups. Let's have the conversation to where we're developing men to look like men of character, men of standards, so that any woman would view it as being an honor to associate with us, let alone to be shoulder to shoulder and arm with us. That's the point that I'm getting at. Chris, that's why I wanted you to hang on to that, because when we start talking trust, when we start talking love, those are character traits. It's not emotions. We're talking about building a brand amongst men to where the men are the pillars of society. When a woman or a child goes out there and get in trouble, you got 10 men that show up, and we won't let them get damaged. That's the thing I'm talking about.
And it's not just showing up just to show up. It's showing up to figure out who did what and figure out what we need to do collectively. It's about accountability as well. The reason why I said if you fix the kings, the kingdom falls in line. The king will normally tell the queen, hey, you need to chill out. Sit your ass down somewhere. You wilding out. Or you was wrong for doing that and you need to go say something. Not in that vernacular, but you get what I'm saying. The king has no problem saying, hey, you tripping, you need to chill out, because what you about to do is about to screw up my kingdom, and I can't have that. You understand what I'm saying? When you fix the kings, the kingdom falls back in line. Fixing the queens does nothing.
Can
John,
I say
before you go real quick, you can go after this. I want to welcome Cavi Wallace to the show. He got in here late. He was having issues. But welcome to the show, man. If you feel like jumping in right now, man, I know you've been backstage for a little bit and all the things.
Yeah.
But, welcome to the show, man. You want to say anything? You want to jump in, or you want to sit?
Yeah,
back?
I just want to make sure I'm technically okay right here. Can you guys hear me?
Perfect, great sound.
Now this is not my professional setup, as you know, but I'm working with what I have here. I'm just kind of sitting back, listening to what you guys say about the subject at hand. I saw you guys pop up, and I said, dang, man, Garfield told me he was going to put me in this thing. Like, what's going on? But okay, so I'm good where I'm at right now. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I'm listening to everything everybody's saying. Brother who just spoke on the subject of saying fixing kings. Let me kind of speak on that right there. I think what we want to do is we want to fix both at the same time, to be quite honest with you. Because reason why I say we want to fix both and how important it is to fix the queen is because the queen is the person who sets the foundation for the child. And if the queen is not perfect or close to perfect in how she sets that foundation for the child, this is where we run into problems. So we want to definitely fix the problem with the queens. Another reason why I say that is because we have a lot of kings unfortunately jumping ship. Can we agree on that, brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do
Okay.
you mean by jumping ship? Clarify jumping ship.
What I mean
Elaborate.
what I mean by jumping ship is I get a woman pregnant. I don't want to claim those responsibilities. I'm get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to move on to the next chick. So what happens with that is that sets up a failed process or a failed environment, because now this woman has to take on this load by herself because a man has jumped ship. So what I hear all the time, and is it Victor, brother Victor? Yeah, right. I see a lot of your memes and everything up on Facebook. You're a hilarious guy. I love you, man. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like you along with some of the other brothers, part of the podcast clique that I call out here, that is almost like a woman hating clique. I know you guys don't hate women, but I say a women hating clique or a debasing clique that kind of debates women a whole lot. We tend to use the statement, well, you should have chose better. Okay, and I get that. I definitely get that. I get wholeheartedly what you're saying. But we tend not to say the same thing about Kanye West. You know, so he's
Kanye
having
is a simp.
Kanye's
a
Kanye's an idiot.
Okay.
I'll go with idiot.
What I'm saying
right there.
Though,
oh my God!
Listen. What
I'll
I'm
let
saying
you finish.
is that this man, right? He has to pay this $200,000 a month in child support, and we say, damn, that's a lot of money this brother got to pay. But nobody says to that man, you should have chose a better mate. Nobody ever says that to black men. Nobody ever says that. And how many black men do you know have to pay $800, $1,200, $1,500 in child support? We feel sorry for them, but nobody ever says you should have chose a better mate. Why? Why is that? Why do we not hold our men responsible in choosing better mates?
I think we do. I don't know if that's relative to the men that you know,
Yeah.
but like I
Or
I
the
got
men that
plenty
you
of
see in
partners that-
mainstream media.
Yeah, like I don't know what you basing that off of, but I tell you what, I got plenty of male friends that won't call me when they fucking up.
Okay.
They know I'm the last person to call. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because like, bro, I've been married 3 times. You know what I'm saying? I had a marriage that produced a kid that wasn't mine biologically. You can't tell me shit. I paid child support, got off child support. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've also built my legacy along the way when it comes down to my business and everything else. So like whatever comparisons you talking about men, that's relative to them bitch ass dudes that and how they move. You see what I'm saying? Like, because
And
like
it's only a handful of them.
And it's only a handful
It's
of them.
only
Like,
a
you gotta
handful of
understand,
them.
the worst women are competing for the worst men. And it ain't that many worse men that like they're arguing over trash.
That statement right there is how.
How many brothers do we know out here? Okay, go ahead.
They competing for the worst 2 to 3% of men.
Yeah.
And
so you
and
can't
that
even
statement
base
right
what they need to
there.
base themselves off of is enough.
And that statement right there is how I can go 42 years and not have a baby mama and have another dude my age have 4 or 5 kids by 3 or 4 different women who know they dealing with the same type of dude. You're talking about you're talking about a small percentage of men, and you're making that the whole. Over half of us are single and childless, and over a third of us are married. So how can you put that on us? That means a small percentage of men are responsible for the lion's share of the women, which means the women know these men are like this, and they're choosing it anyway. You can't put that on us. I refuse to allow that to happen. I refuse.
Let Brother John go. I got a rebuttal for that. Go ahead, John.
I want to say something because I'm a part of the ones that's paying child support. There has been times that it has been questioned whether or not I'm being held accountable for the choices I made. But here's the reality. I married mine. I got 1 baby mama.
There you go.
She's the mother of both my kids. We're divorced because she wasn't pulling her side of the marriage. So I'm going to be honest. Society has told you that there are a bunch of men out there that's making babies and walking away. But the reality of it is, if you actually sit down and talk to some of these women, it ain't society that's saying that. It's these women have pushed these guys away. Now, yeah, you got some bitch ass niggas out here, like Vic said. You got some bitch ass niggas out here that's making babies and walking away. That I'm not gonna deny that whatsoever. But you also got a bunch of goddamn women out here that's where I'll say it like this, and I'm gonna leave it alone. That's where the statement came from. You should have fought harder. Why the fuck do I have to fight so hard to see my child if I'm not doing anything wrong? I don't have a criminal record. I've never been arrested. I got my own place. I have 3 vehicles. But why do I have to fight so fucking hard to see my kids because of a lie? That's where that statement came from. Society has decided that it's a bunch of dudes out here just making babies and walking away. That's not the case. When you actually sit down and start talking to some of these guys want to be in their kids' lives. But they get tired. Why do I have to fight so fucking hard? Why do I have to get up and fight the world on a job?
Yep.
But then I got to fight when I go home.
A lot of them don't qualify for babies, man. A lot of them,
exactly.
Like when you got men that sitting up here that's 43 in their 40s without kids, and that's a choice at a certain point, right?
Right.
So like you can't take this section of the population based on the numbers that Chris presented you with, you know, that he can source, the experience that's up here on the panel, and then say it's men out here recklessly making, you know what I'm saying, babies like crazy when it's 2 million more women than it is men.
Right.
So
right.
like that means the abundance of women are still choosing the worst men to
Yeah.
procreate with and to blame, because they can't access the men that would make their pregnancy, you know what I'm saying, or whatever situation it is. If they want to have a full-on family, then cool. If they had dreams and aspirations of a big family, you can't start with the lowest of the low to procreate with and then think that you're going to automatically jump to an upgrade after you figured out what your lesson was without making some personal changes in an extreme manner. And that's where the accountability piece comes
All right,
in.
and fellas, what we're doing here, unfortunately, is we are making it seem like only thugs and dumbass niggas are the only ones that's out here leaving these girls single and with kids.
Right.
College educated brothers are doing this shit. You do understand
Who's
that, right?
the majority?
Let me
You
say
do
that.
understand that, right?
Hold on. This was the last. This was the last thing that
Everything's
I
not
wanted to say.
finite though.
But this was the last thing I wanted to say on what I was speaking on. There, I can't remember what the lady's name is but I've shared it in the group. There's a woman, and I'm just be blunt, it's a white woman that talks about how much more control women have.
Mhm.
I'm not taking any of the accountability away from the men because they lay down too. But a woman has more control over sex than a man does. If a woman chooses to lay down with a man and not make him wear protection, that is a bigger choice on her side than it is on his side. Yeah, we make that decision. But if a woman is willing to do it as well, they have more control over sex than we do. Because when you lay down with a woman, if she tells you that you got to wear a rubber, you're gonna say no and not put a rubber on.
That
you
right
kind
there,
of making us weak as I don't know what. Right.
that right.
No,
that's
my point in saying that is this:
a man takes a woman in sex. We defeat them in sex. They will admit that. We take a woman in sex. We engage in sex. We're the first ones that want that. You feel what I'm saying? So I can't agree with you on that, brother.
Wait a minute.
What am I listening to right now?
Right,
You
exactly.
Hold on, hey, listen, I do want to hear.
That's that.
I haven't heard Antoine in a while, so
Wow.
believe it or not, I actually want to hear what Antoine has to say.
Idiocy. What, you think we
Take
take
this
the
one.
Hold on,
woman?
let me get my drink. Go ahead, Antoine. Go
Oh,
ahead.
you got that shit right. Here's
Move
to
my
you.
mic, Antoine.
First of all, to fix it, both men and women have to take responsibility and make better choices. Got it. That's a fact. Secondly, what do you mean we take the women? You think we force them to spread their legs and not wear a condom? Even if I'm a man and you're the woman, if you're the woman, wouldn't you want to protect yourself from an STD like me? If I'm just saying, like you're the one that's going to be stuck with this baby. We don't have the right to say, you know what? Let's not, you're going to get an abortion. Oh no, we don't have that right. That's gone. Okay. Now, if that choice is a major choice that we do not make, we cannot tell the woman we're not ready for a child. If she wants to have that child, there's nothing we can say. But all of a sudden, it's both our decision to have a baby when the woman decides to spread it for me.
Right.
What are you talking about?
So here's my thing.
Hold on, wait a minute. I'm gonna let you speak, but let me get this off. I'm gonna let you speak, but let me get this off.
Hold on, Chris.
Okay, go ahead.
For you to say we take the women, we ain't raping nobody. What are you talking about?
No, we're not raping.
Hold on.
Anyone.
Wait.
We are alphas. We
understand what Antoine is saying.
After it more than women do.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Even if we are alphas, the woman has a right to say, protect herself and say, you better wear a condom.
This is true.
She has that right.
This is true. But
wait.
There's no man on this panel that has a vagina, right?
So don't say
so.
So
how do you know what that feels like when you have a condom, brother? That's what I'm asking.
Let me explain something.
So
and I'm going to bottom line this.
Is the question? Can a woman fill a condom?
I'm
we
going to bottom line
that
this.
we have the condom on, correct?
I'm going to bottom line this. There isn't a man watching this video. There isn't a man in this chat. There isn't a man on Facebook that can say that they have never gone to a grocery store, 24-hour Walmart, 24-hour pharmacy, 24-hour gas station to get a box of condoms because the woman that was in his bed said that he wasn't going to have sex without one. Stop it. These
He
women
should have
know
had
what
him from
they
the get-go
doing.
to protect himself.
I understand what you're saying, but he's talking about a power dynamic.
There is.
That's not on us.
And I think when he talks
How
the
is it not on
penetration
you?
part,
got the dick, brother.
you penetrate, you ski.
You got the dick.
It got to go get the seed.
But
you
Am
plant.
I talking to? I don't know what I'm talking to here, but
that's my point. They have to go get the seed, meaning that they have to grant us permission to go inside of them. Stop it, man. I can't do this.
they gotta grant you
like
permission
they-
to go
but you're
inside
acting like
of
we-
them.
It's
A
like
woman don't know
the legs.
she's
Like they don't
going
go there you
inside
go.
of until
Like,
she
they
feel
don't
that
have
thing
choice.
going.
Like we can just say
If she
open
feel that dick
sesame.
jumping,
Get out of
that's
here.
when you going inside. By that time, it's too late, brother.
Hold on.
You telling me that a man can't come in a woman's vagina until she give us permission? Is you a fool by saying that?
I made a statement that took us completely off a tangent and what we was talking about. We done got way off a tangent.
I'm sorry, fellas. I came in and messed everything
We
up.
went,
I'm a
we
shut up.
went completely left.
Gabby is a damn troll.
Absolutely. He has to be. He has to be.
Like I see him how he comment on Facebook. That's why he acknowledged what I do. He a damn troll. He done came in here with some bullshit, and that was his mission. But I understand though. Like, go ahead, John.
All right. So one thing that I wanted to talk about earlier, and I kind of forgot part of it, but Coach talked about it. That goes back to what I said when I first got on about not acknowledging the foolishness. At some point, Coach said it. At some point, we have to stop acknowledging the fact that we have simps, we have suckers around us, and continue to focus with the ones that's actually trying to have some growth and actually move forward. The focus has to be taken away from the ones that's not looking to actually grow. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about too is this. When it comes to, and I know we was kind of moving in a different direction. We were all supposed to kind of answer the question, but I know you were saying that what can we do to what was the original question, Uncle Joe? What do we need to do to change things?
I don't even know what we was at anymore.
But-
I'm just rolling with the show now.
Look, okay, so what I saw
But I do
earlier.
know at some point I do want to talk about some solutions and some positives.
Yeah, that's what I
end on
think
that
you
note,
had started
you know
with.
what I mean?
You had started with Roland and Chris. Oh, what I did want to say is this: my personal opinion, how we need to work better with women going back, and I guess it's gonna go with what Chris said and what Coach said, as well as what Roland said. We as men got to focus on ourselves. Being completely honest, the focus needs to be taken away from women, and we need to focus on ourselves. I agree 100% that we do need to protect our women, and we do need to show them that we can be trusted. But that requires us to focus on ourselves, figure out who we are, where we came from, learning our heritage, learning the proper tools, the proper communication, how to actually communicate with success and be able to be understood and not have Vic said a combative attitude. So if we're going to focus on bettering our community, then we have to focus first on ourselves, because it's my dad used to tell me something that I never understood until I got older, until I got my divorce. You can't change nobody else until you change yourself. If you're not willing to change yourself, then you'll never be able to change anybody else. So I think the focus needs to be on us and actually the betterment of us, trying to find more men, like Coach said, building the wolf pack, building the brotherhood. It's got to be a true brotherhood. We got to hold each other accountable. If you see me slip up and fall off, don't hesitate. Now, I think I sent that to you, Vic. Nipsey Hussle got a video. I saw a little short video on Instagram yesterday that talked about him being a Crip. He was always around his cuz. So one of the things that he said was, if I fuck up and we out in public, don't call me on it right there. Pull me to the side when we get back to the hood or whatever. But let me know, hey man, I got your back, but you fucking up. You can't do that. You can't operate like that. You can't move like that. That needs to be how accountability works. But the reality of it is, Maybe the ones that's on this panel right now will do that, but we don't have a bunch of men around us that actually and willingly will come to us and say, hey man, you're right, but you fucking up.
Because you the man. When you the man, you don't have people to hold you accountable like that. You know what I'm saying? When you the man in your circle, you responsible for making all of the decisions that come with being the man. And generally speaking, those are the accountable decisions. That's why, like, generally speaking, I can't talk to y'all 30, 45 minutes a day, each at a time, until we get on this panel, because we too busy leading. You see what I'm saying? Leaders have to come together and have a conversation in front of the peasants. You got to understand that there's a separation between a certain type of man. There's a leader and there's a follower, and that's pretty much it. If you asking for clarity, you're a follower, period. You know what I'm saying? Like the men that's leading right now have already done the work, can show their work, they can talk about it, they can stand on it, they can talk their shit. You know what I'm saying? I done wrote 2 books. I don't want to hear what somebody else think. Get behind what I'm already doing, because we already been talking for too long. My uncle already come in and said, hey, look, we've been having the same narrative for 62 years. He didn't watch it play out. He looking at his nephew talk about solving the problem. And y'all talking about what we need to be, who we need to listen to instead of doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm talking about to the people that may not have done anything, that are listening and have an opinion and have not contributed to the solution. Mm-hmm. So, like, there's a big difference. If you're already contributing to the solution, a conversation amongst the right people kind of reflects what Coach was saying earlier. Like, we've elevated above that. I'm a king, and I like to think that I associate myself with other kings that have people in their networks that depend on them for certain levels of guidance, right? So you got to have a resume. You got to have a resume. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people do not have a resume, and are being followed by people with less of a resume. So at some point, we have to sit down and say that there's a distinction between the type of man that women are programmed by and the men that they resist. The men that they resist guidance from. A lot of these women out here, they are ignoring the same advice that their daddies gave them. Okay? So, like, when you start having that conversation about the effect of single mothers raising their sons and then still demanding masculine men when they've raised them in an effeminate manner, like, it's ridiculous. You see what I'm saying? That'll be like, imagine us raising a bunch of tomboys and then demanding more feminine women. That's goofy. We got to stop and get back down to what makes sense. Like, when the shit hits the fan, in whatever scenario, worst case scenario, you gonna get behind the man that can shoot or the man that can paint. You gonna get behind the man that can shoot or the man that can shave sheep. You see what I'm saying? Like, when it come down to it in a survival situation, who you gonna get behind? And that's when you know, when they choose the shooter, you know they've been bullshitting. So that's what I'm saying. The personal accountability conversation goes a lot further than just what men listen to and everything else. There's a distinction. Like, women need to figure out which leaders are the real leaders, because you're gonna get representatives until you have a level of personal accountability that lets you know the distinction between the two. You don't get an imposter, or you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get the most authentic thing possible. You're gonna get what reflects your personal level of accountability. So if you out here and you done went 0 for 5 because you got 5 baby daddies and ain't none of them present, it's you. If you a dude that went 0 for 10 and you got 10 baby mamas and you got nothing but drama, it's you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At some point, when you draw that distinction, and you can clearly see the difference between the people that say, well, what about? If you say what about and you need clarity, you a follower. Period. Yep. I don't care what it is, man. Like, if you want to fix the problem, we got to draw some hard lines and put some. You got to put you on this side or that side.
Okay. Put a standard on it.
You got to put a standard on it, and somebody
put a standard on it.
And you can't care. Okay. And as a leader, you can't care what they care about. You got to
ask a question.
So you had an opinion.
I got to ask.
Okay.
You know, not have gone to school in the United States. Based on statistics, I got to ask: do they teach sex education.
Yes.
I just got because at what age do they teach that they totally
about
forget
12
you can get
to
pregnant?
13. 12 or 13 is when they really start.
So if they
teaching that.
teach it to you, and you make the first mistake, I get that. You like the raw shit, whatever. I don't understand. Like, did you like do women not think or men not think that you don't get pregnant if you know what I mean? Like, where does the education die? Because where I went to school, you had it in the beginning, I think grade 12 or whatever that was, and then you had it when you were in your teens again.
Okay, so there's a difference.
Where do they stop it here?
There's a difference between educating someone about sex and natural instinct, brother.
Wait.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I don't want the excuses to come in yet. Listen to
That's
what I'm saying.
That's not excuse.
I'm asking.
Natural instinct is a scientific
listen
fact.
To what I'm saying. You're not letting me finish. I
Okay.
said, what if you get it at age 12? Is that where it ends in the United States, or you don't get it in your teens?
Well, after age 12, that's about it. They're gonna teach you about it.
So,
That's it.
So you're telling me, so no one after 12 brings out a condom and shows you what it's about and tells you
no,
none of that.
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay, so it's the school
Hey,
system.
Antoine, you remember last November? Hey, Antoine, you remember last November when I brought up, I said, me and you are a different type of black, and you got offended? And
I didn't get offended.
this conversation right here is it. You see what I'm saying?
Why? Because
I want you to listen to me. I want you to listen.
Wait a minute. Wait, let's
No. I'm interjecting. I'm interjecting. I'm trying to help you.
Antoine.
I need you to listen. I need you to listen.
Antoine.
I need you to listen.
Now you just call this man out about not letting you finish. Now you
Well,
won't
because
let
he said something that's
stop being a damn
don't
pot
say something
trying to
that's
call
not
kettle
true.
black.
No, don't say something that's not true.
Hey, Antoine, I'm trying to explain something.
Yeah,
You
but
asked
try to
the
explain it
question.
without lying, because I didn't get offended. I just challenged you on it. I didn't get offended.
No. Okay.
If you're gonna say it right. That's all.
Hey, real quick, I'm gonna let y'all talk. I'm gonna say let y'all say y'all talking points, and then we're gonna get to the final thoughts. Y'all go ahead. Now y'all go ahead and finish.
Okay, so like when I brought that up last year, I was trying to draw a distinction between like your upbringing from Trinidad, living in Canada, and being in LA, right? And then there's a markedly difference, a markedly wide gap between the difference of understanding amongst black men from state to state within the United States. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm from the South. A lot of John's from the South. Coaches from the South. Cavi, you from the East Coast, I'm sure. And Roland, you from the South too. Where you from in the South, sir?
Virginia.
Okay. That's great that you brought up Virginia as being from the South. A lot of people don't believe that Virginia's in the South.
That is not the South. I'm sorry.
How is it not the South?
Hey, you see what I'm saying?
Whoa. Richmond, Virginia. Richmond, Virginia was the Confederate capital, sir. What are you talking about? You don't want to go into history with me.
No,
Richmond, Virginia was the Confederate capital. Not Atlanta, Georgia. Not Charleston, South Carolina.
I love how y'all proving my point.
Exactly. I get what you're saying, Vic. I get what you're saying, Vic.
Thank you. Look,
I get what you're saying.
Y'all proving my point. Because in the deep South, somebody from Virginia is like coming from Canada. You see what I'm saying? And then in Virginia, it's a lot of people in Virginia that don't think that they in the South, but it was the capital of the Confederacy. You know what I'm saying? But Virginia itself was Montgomery, Alabama at one point. You know what I'm saying? It still is. But ultimately, my point is that our origin of understanding is different. You see what I'm saying? Like we are as diverse as any group of people from any other place. You know what I'm saying? With different tribal affiliations, different money, different exchange systems, and things of that nature. And we have to give ourselves more credit than that, because Antoine comes from a culture that might be more traditional, that fits what marriage is. You know what I'm saying? But Roland's upbringing may distort him from even seeing Antoine's upbringing as a tangible reality. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like we have to reset the baseline. Like, what's reasonable? What makes sense? And if working together makes sense, then cool. And then if we say if it makes sense at this level and working together makes sense, who is more a resource to take advantage of working together? And then you got to get behind that person. See, That's something that you generally understand as common sense. But until you have to apply it, you just got a feeling about how you respond to it. And that's where, like, being in the military has taught us, like, hey, you ain't got to like this person for you to benefit from them, to benefit from what they understand, because what they understand might be their job that you benefit from. You don't have to know that the person that work at the electric company is the worst mother or father ever. You see what I'm saying? But as long as they can keep your lights on, you don't care. So, like, ultimately, my point is that we have to add value in addition to whatever our agenda is and our role is in the respective conversation of bringing our community together. You can't bring our community together unless you assume a level of a role. Right. And we've tried to diminish and dismiss the role of man and woman being interchangeable. You know what I'm saying? Or we don't have enough polarity and complementary space between each other to understand that we benefit by not knowing some things. Like the need to know compartmentalization that men and women have is a benefit because we protect each other from the things that we don't understand about our women if we bring the right women into our space. And we're responsible for that, because if you're going to be a leader, if you're a man that's a leader, guess what you're responsible for? Every woman that comes into your space. That's why every woman you choose and fail with is your fault.
Yeah, because every woman I've been with, I just look at, before I even sleep with them, I go, do I want to be stuck with this woman for the rest of my life? I mean, let me double bag it. I mean, just for my own safekeeping. I'm not going to believe what comes out of her mouth. I'm going to double bag it no matter how good she's spread. But I don't understand, like, where it gets, like, when you go home with the course, don't your parents, or your parent in this case, because there's so many baby mamas out there, don't you say, honey, don't end up like me.
No, they don't.
Right.
Hey,
Yes.
look, real
Yes.
quick,
I agree with brother right there.
So here's what's getting ready to happen, folks.
Don't end up with the struggle.
Here's what's getting ready to happen.
For the life
Here's what's getting ready to happen. We're about to do the final thoughts. All right. We didn't kept our viewers on a little bit too long tonight. We apologize, but from based off some of the comments, my text messages, my Facebook, it seemed like we've been having a great show tonight. So I appreciate everybody who has jumped in tonight. I appreciate everybody that's on the chat. But right now, what we're going to do, we're going to close out with the final thoughts. If you guys have looked at the chat, the private chat, I don't know if you guys have or not, but we're going to start with Cavi. Then we're going to go to John, and they're going to go around the horn with your final thoughts. Last speaks, you're going to be having a couple of minutes of uninterrupted time. You can say whatever it is that you want to say as it pertains to the show.
Garfield, let these other brothers go because they said in the whole show. So I kind of
want to brother, I want you to go first.
I got to get a summary of what y'all been talking about the whole time, brother.
All right, well, here's what I'll let you go third.
All right,
I'll let you go
cool,
third
cool.
then. All right. So John, you up first, brother. Speak on it.
I
don't want church coach to go first and give the benediction before we start.
Coach look like he about to sleep over there anyway. Plus,
Coach,
he ain't
coach
actually said nothing in a while. So.
Hey, Coach did over 20 years in the military. Coach didn't pull 20 of 24-hour duties in his lifetime. It ain't nothing for Coach to stay for 24 hours.
Hold up, look. That
Coach gonna get me after this. Hey man, go ahead, man, with your final thought.
I guess, like I said before, man, the biggest thing is we need to focus on ourselves. Stop trying to focus on women and what they need to change. Let that ship sail and focus on themselves and building yourself up and positioning yourself around the right type of people, the right type of men. We talk about a wolf pack, but the reality of it is it's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood of men holding each other accountable. It's a brotherhood of men having open conversations without emotions taking control and we getting to a point where we can't actually sit down and come to some type of agreement. I said last show, and Vic, I was going to call you out on this, but this you were just saying it. It has to get to a point to where I don't give a shit about your background. I don't give a shit who you are. The purpose of what we're doing is all that matters. I don't care about anything else. I've said it plenty of times, and I'm gonna continue to say it. It's something that I heard in church that I continue to hear now. It don't matter about the messenger. It's the message that matters. So if we're going to build together, we're going to work together. If we're going to try to resolve these issues, if we're going to try to actually build a community that has strength, stop worrying about who it's coming from and just worry about if it's going to solve the problem. And let's continue to grow. That's all I got.
The black man and the black woman making peace with each other is bigger than the black man and the black woman. It is. It's bigger than any singular entity in our community. It is about the whole. That is why it is important for us to make peace with each other. It shouldn't matter what. It shouldn't matter who says what. As long as it makes sense and is good for the whole, it should be good. Everybody knows I love anime, and I'm going to keep going back to this. Humankind cannot gain anything without sacrificing something in return. To obtain anything, something of equal value must be lost. So we have to figure out what we need to give up in order to get this peace, because we need it. I said in the beginning, I'm tired of this fight. I don't want nothing to do with it. I didn't start it, so leave me out of it. And I'm not trying to be collateral damage in it. We need each other more than we need each other more than mainstream media would tell y'all that we need each other. And I'll just leave it at that.
So pretty much all I want to say about this whole situation is I was speaking to Garfield about this kind of in the, in a private talk that we were talking about. I was telling him about the importance of Black women and Black men finding peace within each other, because to be quite honest, we are not going to build as a Black nation unless we accomplish this. And Black men and Black women making podcasts about the negatives about each other, where is that going? I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's not fixing anything. Black women aren't listening to Black men. Black men aren't listening to Black women. Pretty much we're just hearing each other bash each other constantly. And it's the most foolish thing I've ever seen in my damn life. And I think it was set up to be that way. And also I know that it's very lucrative to talk about these things, right? There's so much money in it, right? You just spoke on it. So much money in it. So this is the reason why we talk about it so much. And the thing is, like I said, it's not moving us forward. So what I encourage people to do, and what I would like to do, and something I'm working with in my locale myself, is getting around younger men and teaching them the old morals of what builds successful nations. And that moral, that number one moral, is family. You have to build strong family units. If you look at all of the successful people in this world, and we're talking about groups, okay, group economics and things like that. So we're talking about Jews, we're talking about Asians, we're talking about Arabs, we're talking about Indians, we're talking about all those people. The one thing that you see is they have a tight bond, a tight knit family unit. Yes, they have divorces. Yes, they have things, that go awry in those relationships and things like. We understand that nothing's perfect, but they aren't in the shambles that we're in right now. And in today's society, when we're trying to break through the ceiling, this is the point in human history where, again, Black people are going to eventually take the forefront of everyone. We were already there before. We already know our history. We understand that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to break out of this insane shell that we're in right now that we can't seem to get ourselves out of, and we can't uplift ourselves because we keep fighting amongst each other. If it's not the men fighting men, it's the Black men fighting Black women, or it's the Black women fighting Black women fighting Black women. That's an issue. As in a whole, it's a huge issue, and we have to understand we can't go forward. How do you get your education? Do you get your education in a quiet room setting, or do you get your education on a damn battlefield? Think about that. How can you educate yourself when you're constantly at battle with someone? Just think about trying to learn algebra 2 with guns shooting over your head. That's insane. You have to have peace. You have to. We have to all slow down, talk to each other, and make this thing work, because if we don't, it's over for us. You can cancel it. Close the curtain. The fat lady has sung. It's over. We need them. They need us. I'm done.
Man, y'all had me going. I had to write some stuff down so I could remember something. But first and foremost, and this is just me and my soapbox, we can't overlook our responsibility to protect the black woman, period. To me, you may not see it that way. I do, because I look at the black woman. She's the first teacher of our children. She's the mother of our children. She's the teacher of the next few generations. That mother, that woman, that whatever she is, that's what society is. So when we neglect her, we neglect our children, we neglect society. And I don't know where y'all came up with these stats, but I go to the schools and I work in the schools, volunteer, and I see, maybe if I do see a male there, it's the PE teacher or the janitor. But all of the women teach. All of the women are leading them. And then when you look at the parents for parent teachers conference, you don't see us there. You see a bunch of women there. So I don't know, where y'all getting these statistics talking about 2% are, the bad or whatever you were saying. And when it comes to our neighborhoods, we got to look at everything that goes wrong within our neighborhoods, within our houses, within our society. We have to take ownership of it. We got to make sure things are right, because what we do, we pass the buck. We say, well, if she wouldn't have did, well, if they wouldn't have done this. No, we need to take responsibility, and then things change. Because when we take responsibility, then I tell you, no, you effing up. I'll make sure you don't do it, because it reflects on all of us, not just you. And that's all I got to say on that, because I'm passionate about making sure that the family structure is correctly positioned, and not just a person that can blame the left or to the right. No, the head got to be the head, and the head can't complain about what the butt doing.
Well, I'm going to take a different approach, right? I'm going to put that in today's modern world, modern times, men and women have to take accountability for their own actions and their own choice. Women work just as much as men, and they make just as much as money. And they're both responsible for the situation they put themselves in. It ain't up to the man to try to control the woman, or the woman to try to control the man. It's up to them to come together, find a common ground, and build a family, grow together as a family. I wouldn't want any man to take that significant other's career out of their hands, and I wouldn't want the vice versa, right? So people have to figure out the life they want to lead. And I would tell anybody, you have to hang around like-minded people to grow in the direction you want to grow in. You can't become a millionaire or have the life you want hanging around with Pookie and Ray Ray on the corner. You're going to get Pookie and Ray Ray habits. It's just the way it is, right? So we have to be aware of that. And I always tell everybody, every time I'm on this podcast, you're as good as the company you keep. So keep good company. And what you want in your wolf pack is what you're going to grow and build with. And if a woman is in your wolf pack, not that she should be there, but if she's in there, then you have to make sure you lead the right way. But it has to have that form of communication. Put yourself into position to make the best choices in life. You want a dime, or you want this, or you want that. That costs money, right? It does, because we live. Love ain't gonna pay the bills. So I would encourage every man to put yourself into the position of the life you want to lead. So if somebody comes into your life, you're able to lead the way you want to lead, but come together with the decisions. Because you got to grow as a couple. Gone are the days when, honey used to be cooking cleaning at home, and the husband comes home for a nice hot meal laid out across the dinner. Nobody has time for that anymore. But to build a family, you have to have a common ground. You have to have the understanding of both people, because it has to be a communication there. Nobody wants to give up their career to depend on one person. Those days are gone. And I think people need to realize that. You can't control what others do, nor should you try. But to build a solid family takes two people. and know your roles. A woman cannot do what a man does, and a man definitely cannot do what a woman does. I love my parents equally, but differently, because they both provide something for me that I need. And another thing, sex education, people. Jesus Christmas. I'm just confused on how people, all this baby mama talk shit. Like, I'm thinking, what are you telling your kids at home? You don't want them to repeat your mistakes. So if you don't want them to repeat your mistakes, have that conversation with them. You know, sex is real. You know, that's what I'm going to say.
All right. So I wrote something in the past that I've stuck by, and it's an assessment called Women Have No Code. And I want you to, you know what I'm saying, like, listen intentfully. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't an attack. And I just want to point out just behavior. We're only talking about behavior. Only talking about behavior. I said, women have no code. They're the only group of people that flock to where they feel attacked the most. They have terrible relationships with each other, from their mothers, sisters, and aunts and grannies. They argue over low-frequency BS like clothes, hair, and pics. They have never built anything together but resentment for each other and support for Billy Porter. They don't know true responsibility until they have their first children, and they don't get leadership roles as early as young boys do because they've been coddled for a large part of their lives. They raise sons that become the very men that they complain about and don't even realize it. They will complain about everything they don't have instead of putting all of their misguided energy together to improve their outcomes. That's what men are doing right now. Men are actually doing something about what makes men complain. The Black community has a huge opportunity to correct this relationship culture, and there's a large group of women that are more invested in unhealthy conflicts where instead they could be learning the language of men. So, like, I wrote that because I wholeheartedly feel like a lot of women are focused on the wrong men to base their grievances off of. Because if men have found a way to work together off the same grievances that other men probably have perpetuated and found common ground, somebody's pretending and somebody's lying. The numbers reflect that a lot of emotionally insecure people are having babies with each other. And when you look at the volume of those people that are having babies with each other, and you look at your personal interactions with them, are you seeing more men making irresponsible choices with their penis, or are you seeing more women do the same thing with their vaginas? Like, when you ask that question and then you come to a generalization of like men are doing it more or women are doing it more, you got a choice at that point to choose who you want to align yourself with. So without the level of personal accountability that it takes to even be in this conversation, you have to look at your own actions first to decide if you're commenting off experience and emotion or experience and information and reality. A lot of people are not functioning in the same reality. So to the men that are functioning in the leadership reality, stop aiming your best intent at the wrong people. To the women that desire more out of their life, and men also, stop aiming your requirements at the wrong people. When you start doing that, you're going to get a distinction between those who can lead and those who can follow, those who can complement and those who can supplement, those who add value and those who don't. Your outcomes reflect your philosophy. Your relationship reflects your accountability. So it doesn't matter what you get mad about what you heard here today. It doesn't matter what you think needs to happen between Black men and Black women. At some point, the only thing that matters is your behavior every day. That if you have kids, they reflect that. If you have relationships that pivot off your understanding of the world, they reflect that. That's just the bottom line. when it comes down to it, who has code and who doesn't? Should men get behind the code that women have, or should women get behind the code that men have? Should men make their relationships with each other reflect the way women feel about each other? Because I think the largest gap in our society is women getting along with each other. Because, like I pointed out earlier, you got all levels of friendships or relationships between women, from mothers, sisters, aunts, and grannies. And at every point and at every divide in the family, if you can look at and say, well, what went wrong? I guarantee you can point at it and say, man, me and the women are beefing, or the women are beefing. So our family's divided. If you look at that, be honest and take a full personal inventory of where you committed your energy to understanding why your family is where it's at. I guarantee you, if you look at it, you'll see that women have no code. They have nothing that they'll die about till they have their own children. And their first child is probably not the best example to go off of. I don't care how you feel. That's just where I feel. That's where I see it. And I got plenty of accountable women in my family that have given me the positive example to be able to make that assessment when I look at others. So when I say that, when I say women have no code, it's not to incite competition. It's to incite a personal accountability amongst women and with each other. Y'all need to learn how to love each other the same way men love each other when it comes down to building our community.
Hey, can everybody hear me?
We can, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, very good. So I'm gonna keep mine brief because I kind of said my piece earlier. I think what you've seen tonight was a perfect example of what I'm talking about. What we need to understand is that there are so many distractions in this world that it is designed to pull you away from the knowledge of the truth. When we get caught up into what I consider to be meaningless conversation, those conversations are not designed to move us forward into what we are destined or what we can potentially be. So I only share that. Like I value everybody's perspective. I think everybody has a great point when speaking their piece. But again, like I said before, and if you paid attention to me, I kind of disconnected at a certain point. Like I said before, the only way that I believe in my heart of hearts that we are going to unite as a community is when we take responsibility for ourselves and our in group. So men take responsibility for your behavior, and then help men take responsibility for their behavior. We must become accountability partners to each other so that we can create a unit, a healthy unit, like Uncle Junior like to say, like a wolf pack. Like we in ourselves, men, we have to unite. We have to stop killing each other. We have to stop bickering over pointless stuff. We need to come together and bond over something more meaningful than our own personal agenda. At that particular point, then we can have meaningful, honest conversation across groups with women so that we can unite. This is what I believe. There's no such thing as a bad person. I got it. There's going to be somebody who don't agree with me. That's okay. I am perfectly okay with people not agreeing with me. I don't say things to convince anybody. I say things for you to consider. So with that being said, what we have to understand, if if what we believe is true, if what I believe is true, I don't believe that there's a bad person. I believe that people just have bad behavior. Behavior is a manifestation of your belief system. Therefore, with that being said, what we have to do is reconstruct our belief system to understand that we are not in competition with one another. No man on this panel should be competing with one another. No man should be in competition with any woman, especially if we're from the same community. But we have to find a way to come together to unite for a greater cause outside of our own personal agenda. If we're still focused on our own personal agenda, you're not ready to unite. That's just the bottom line up front. So with that being said, stop participating in pointless, meaningless conversation. Stop victim blaming one another. Get to the point to where we realize that we need one another for the sake of our culture to come together and strive. And that's just my point.
Hey, gentlemen, It was a lot, man. It was a lot of information, a lot of different things that went on the show tonight. I appreciate every single one of you guys for being on here tonight. I really respect all your perspective, everything that you had to say, your experiences, and all of those other things. Special shout out tonight go out to the chat. They was on it tonight. Whole bunch of different things going on in there. The conversation up here, everybody watching on home, all those good things. Again, like I said, I appreciate all you guys for being on here today. There's the book right there. Go buy the code. Cavi got a YouTube channel, Coach Live Friday night on Empower Perspective. Vic, he is talking about, so you may get a sneak peek. He was talking about doing a special episode of Code Talk tomorrow. So just be on the lookout for that on Facebook if you're paying attention, or YouTube or something like that. Anybody got any one final little thing before we wrap up? Get one person. Roland, go ahead. You raise your hand.
Oh, just Antoine, it is different with the teachings here in America and the Americas or whatever, but we have a over sexualized generation coming up because of TV and everything else that's pushing them to be over sexualized. So that also adds to why the pregnancy rates and everything, pregnancy and STD rates have risen, because we don't talk about it in school, and it's like taboo in our culture to talk about, to use protection and all these other things. Then you get some uncle to tell you, he pull out a old rubber from 1979 out his wallet, talking about, here, use that, and that's
not Uncle Junior.
Yeah, not Uncle Junior.
Yeah, different.
So that's part of the negative part of learning about your sexual nature.
Yeah, hey, and I work in the elementary school, so we can talk about it after the show. I love y'all, gentlemen. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all, chat. Love y'all, everybody who viewed in tonight. We are out.